Just stay quiet for a minute. Oracle cards and readings offer a powerful, transformative experience that can provide profound insights, clarity, and guidance, connecting you to your inner wisdom and the universe's infinite power. Today, we host the incredibly talented Elizabeth Saenz, also known as the Fairy Woman. Elizabeth is an intuitive fairy communicator and the author of The Expanded Gateway, Fairy Tid-bits, The Fairy's Guide to Being Human, and the soon to be released Fairy Messages Oracle deck. In today's enchanting episode, Elizabeth shares her journey of creating her new Oracle deck and provides insights into the world of fairies and the wisdom they hold. Um, then, after that, hold on to your seats as she performs live Oracle readings. And you guys can put your comments in the questions in the comments and all that kind of stuff. And we are going to have some amazing time and some amazing Oracle readings. Get ready, hold on to your seats. Here we go. Elizabeth, so excited to have you on the show today.
Yay, I'm so happy to be here.
We're going to talk about the Oracle deck for just a little bit, and then we're going to do some live readings and see what we can entice people to learn about Oracle readings and giving all that kind of stuff to them. So, just first of all, so people know what inspired you to be a fairy communicator?
I've been talking to the fairy realm my entire life, so I don't know if there's necessarily inspired, but more like it just kind of always was there. And uh, as I grew, I realized that other people weren't seeing these beings and talking to them like me. And I actually had become a Reiki master teacher and was working out of metaphysical shop, and the owner was like, "Well, why don't you do like fairy readings for people or fairy messages?" And I was kind of like, "Well, really, like, would anybody really be interested?" We offered it one day, and people like came out of the woodwork and were like calling, like, "I can't make it today. Will she do it again?" So I went, "Oh, I guess there's actually a need for this here. There's a need for the connection." And it kind of just launched me into really exploring publicly my natural connection to the fairies that I had and what I know from communicating with them, and just my experiences with them in general.
Yep.
I, so
How do those fairies connect to the actual decks that you create, the Oracle decks and the readings that you do?
the Oracle deck is actually a collection of messages that came through readings over the course of multiple years.
Okay.
So it's their actual words coming through, channeled through, that are the messages on each card. And energetically, they were just with me as I'm creating
Yeah.
all of this.
Now,
So
the amazing part is you actually create the decks yourself. I want to show people some of the amazing work that you've done with the decks. Like, you've got. Explain to us what we're looking at here.
so I do a lot of like just composite artwork of taking like lots of different images and kind of collaging them together to create these images for the cards. And I honestly, every card has a fairy in it. It just may not look the way you think it is. So like the one at the end there that has the kind of almost um, circuit board looking to it. There's actually, the fairies are in the dots there. Like there's always some kind of fairy energy in each image.
Now,
And
when
I
you're
wanted
doing the readings, do the fairies talk to you through the cards, or how does that work? And by the way, people that are watching,
they more just talk to me like they normally do. They're in my head or kind of around me. So I hear it that way. But there's definitely an energy in each card when we were creating it. That like when I see the card, I just know, oh yeah, that was the energy for the card. So and I
gotcha.
hope that other people, when they mess with the cards, they kind of like they'll get that too.
So when you do your readings and you're using the cards, is it a combination of the cards and the fairies, or how does that
Yes.
work?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even really need the cards. I can always just tune in and get the message from the fairies. But I want to show, like today, I want to use the cards to kind of show how you can just kind of the energy that they bring to the table. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's I explain to people it's a relationship. Just like anybody that works with any kind of spiritual guides, I think it's important to remember it's a relationship. So like you talk to them, they talk to you. It kind of becomes a two-way back and forth. And as you do it more and more, it just becomes more comfortable, more common. I don't really have to like tune in as much anymore. They're just kind of always there.
Got you. So, for all the people who are listening and watching right now, if you do have questions that you would like to ask Elizabeth, please type them into the comments right now, and then we'll bring those up a little bit later and do some readings. I get excited to do that. So,
Pretty fun.
while we're waiting for that, just tell us about some like of the memorable experiences or encounters you've had with the fairies.
People always ask me that. It's like it's hard because they're like, tell me about your brother. It's like somebody who's
Yeah, tell me about your
always been
brother.
around. I have to like think about it for a moment. Um, so one story I like to share is one time I was doing a reading for a person, and the fairy showed up, and they looked what I would call like more alien like,
Mhm.
and um the fairy and I said that like you look almost like more like an alien than what I think a fairy looks like. And the fairy was like, you think you only work with your planet? And, and I had this moment like, oh yeah, like nature's everywhere. Fairies are probably on other planets, not just ours. It's like, and I always have this thing of expanding my consciousness every time I work with them, of like, I love that I have my own biases still that I have to like push through always when I'm working with them. So
I'm reading a book by Brandon Sanderson, the Stormlight series, and they talk about the Spren, which I imagine are kind of like fairies, and not everyone can see them, only the people that they are exposed to. So your fairies then expose themselves to you only. Is that how it works?
no, I mean, I think I'm just tapping into the fairies that are around. I mean, there's definitely ones that are more my guides that, you know, hang out for are more personal for me. But I um I believe that the fairies are everywhere. Everyone could see them if they could just open up a little bit more to
No,
that they're
gotcha.
around.
How do you differentiate between the different types of fairies?
Um, that I'm very empathic, and like everything comes through feeling a lot for me. So it's hard for the people to say even like, how can you tell the difference between a fairy or an angel? It's like it feels different.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know how to describe it to people. So even with the fairies, I sometimes I'm very physically seeing them or hearing them, and there's definitely, you can just tell the difference then. But there is like a different feeling for different fairies. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah. Like okay, so when you develop like this deck and you've got the
Mhm.
fairies that you're thinking about or they're helping you, like what's the process of actually creating the wisdom the fairy deck that you just created?
So I would go through I went through and I actually had been writing down all these different messages. So like I had more messages than even what was put into the deck originally. And I literally sat down and was just kind of like a crowd of them came around, and I was like, okay, yes or no, yes or no. I went through, found the ones that were right. And this deck actually has been through, so it had an earlier version of it, and the art was done by an artist who had passed away. Things got complicated with the family and some different things, and the way that I was printing it was not sustainable. I didn't like it, so I had stopped printing it and had put it on hold and put it on the back burner for a few years. And I had multiple people coming to me like, I wish you could get your deck again. I really love your deck. I want to give your deck to a friend. They kept coming to me about the deck, and I was like, okay, I hear you. It's time to redo this. And so um, when I sat down, I just was like, I have to do the art. I just have to be the one fully in control of it because I'm a control freak like that. So I sat down to do the art, and I didn't realize how much they were needing to like express through the art too. So um, each card did have like kind of a fairy. When I started working on the art, a fairy that would show up and be like, okay, this is what we're doing. And
Uh-huh.
I'd kind of like get an image in my mind about what the art was supposed to be. And there was definitely was kind of collaborative on each card with them. It ended up taking a lot longer because of that than I thought it was going to, but it got done, so it's all good.
So how would the other people like? How would they actually get in touch with fairies? How do they tune in and like learn about fairies and not just learn about them, but communicate with them?
Um, so I think intent is the most important part. You know, if you're holding the intent to connect with them that you and want to connect with them, you'll start finding different ways. A lot of it's retraining your brain. Um, you we have a tendency to like have experiences of them and be like, oh, that was just a fly flying past, or like you see the thing out of the corner of your eye, but then your brain rationalizes it away. So I would say stop yourself and feel into what you experienced and acknowledge
Mhm.
it, and that will help kind of retrain your brain. Um, I'm also going to be doing a whole YouTube series that you can watch for free starting in May. That's everything I know about the fairies. That should help also you can connect with them and learn about them. So,
So, like in your book, I think it's the Fairies Guide to Being Human. Like you
mhm.
offer insights into how fairies view humans. Tell us about that for a second, because that's interesting.
So the fairies, uh, one of my favorite lines is like, humans are dense. And I was like, thanks, that's kind of offensive. But they're like, no, like your energy is dense. And we, uh, first off, I think people forget that all beings are part of the larger divine, right? So even us humans are divine. And we always want to like place other beings above us, or some kind of weird thing, or people have like lots of ego, want to put them below them, whatever. But the truth is, we're all kind of equal and doing our own part in the larger divine of what it is. And the fairies say that humans are more dense and we're able to like pull other energies in. So like a human can connect the fairy energy with the angelic energy, or connect with other beings and pull them forward, where those beings would have a much harder time connecting just because of the way they are vibrationally. They have a hard time connecting and communicating, but they can through a human. And that's a very important piece for us of being like that vessel for the divine light. That's part of choosing to be human on this planet is about.
That's awesome. I just want to say to the audience out there, if you guys have questions that you would like to ask Elizabeth, please write them into the comments and we'll get to those. I see Michael and Amy out there. Michael, hello. Amy, hello. Give us some questions in here, and I would love to see how the Oracle decking works right now. Um, so, what are some of the cool things that you've seen and done with the fairies? Some of the things that they've told you and you've offered to your people that are reading and they've gone like, "Oh my gosh, that is so right on."
Um, I've gotten some really great at times when we've had like mass shootings, when we've had some like tragic events happen on the planet. I've
Mhm.
gotten some really powerful messages from them that help with just like kind of reframing in the brain and getting perspective, or giving us some hope. Um, Always in my blog that you can find those things. And I think about it was really interesting going into um, COVID and the shutdown and all that. One, when I did the reading for the year in January, I was like this dread, and I almost didn't put it on my blog because it was like felt really heavy and tense. I was like, what's going to happen? And then it happened, and uh, but it gave me a space to start creating more YouTube videos and sharing the message. And I felt like everything that the fairies were saying about that time was like showing us that like we are in this huge shift. And this is what they've talked about a lot, just as humanity. And we can focus on the chaos and the scary parts and the everything we've been through the last 3 years, and
Yeah.
how dire things can look. You can look at those parts of it, or you can see that this is the chaos of us restructuring, and we as humans, it's time for us like to kind of rise up and bring that light in a new way to the planet. And it's really like an amazing time to be alive. It's really just like a great time to be a part of and be able to put your own kind of stamp on humanity. But it doesn't always feel like that. So it's nice to have those kind of reminders of like there's a larger thing happening when you're dealing with all the nitty gritty in here.
I think fairies are absolutely amazing. One of our friends who's watching right now has a question for you. I want to throw this up here for you to take a look. Say, hey Liz, are fairies the same as guides?
Hi, Katrina. That's actually one of my friends. She's one of my oldest friends. I've known her
Oh,
since I was a kid.
hello,
Anyways,
old friend.
um, fairies are, they can be the same as guides. They can, I would say that I, in my experience in my own spiritual journey and working with other people in their spiritual journey, that guides aren't always so static. Like they move in and out. And I've known people who were very guided by angels, but then kind of that fell off, and the other beings would kind of walk in. So I would say yes, they can work as guides. But that being said, not all fairies are interested in being guides for humans. So um, you have to make sure. I think with all guides, you stay open and allow them to come to you rather than trying to like force something to happen. I hope that answers the question.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. Like, by the way, are fairies like all good or not all good, and how does that work?
So I have a three-part blog on on my website talking about this. I will try to sum up as fast as tight as I can.
Okay,
I I think that we have to get out of the idea of like good and bad and good and evil. It's a very Judeo-Christian colonizing mindset that's prevalent in our society. Um, Fairies are part of nature. Nature is not good or bad. If the
okay.
wolf eats the if eats the rabbit, it's not bad. Do
Left
fairies
with
do
the
things
rabbit.
that people could label as bad? Maybe, but it's not with malice or the intent of harm. That I never, they don't ever have that in my experience of connecting with them.
So now the difference between the wolf and the rabbit is, the wolf's gonna eat the rabbit, and we all look at it and go, "Oh, poor rabbit." Most of us look at it and go, "Poor rabbit," and then the wolf goes, "Ah, good meal. I'm gonna live for another day." Now the
Yeah.
rabbit, not so happy. Wolf is living it up. Okay, so how does that translate though? But for us humans, right? Because I don't know that we
so
all see it that way.
so it's just it's like I believe it's even more of like the wolf is just acting within its nature, right? That's what it's
Yes.
doing and what it needs to do to survive. So fairies may be doing things within their nature. Often it's to help even more the nature around them to
Okay.
survive. And humans have their own agenda and idea about what's supposed to happen. And then we don't communicate clearly. There could be interactions that seem like, oh, they're mad at us and attacking us when really they're just doing what's within their nature of that area.
Gotcha. Okay. I'll go with that as a human myself. I want to do something with you that we haven't done before. You've been on the show before. I've been doing this with a lot of people who've come on. We're going to play this or that, where I'm going to
Okay.
ask you a yes or no question, or, you got two choices, one or the other. You can't choose neither, and you can't choose both. And
Okay.
it's just basically whatever comes to you right off the top of your head. Let me just ask you a few questions. Um, Fairy realm or human world?
Human realm. That's where I
Okay.
chose to be.
Okay. What about fairy gardens or enchanted forest?
Oh, fairy garden.
Okay. Oracle decks or tarot decks?
Oh, Oracle decks.
Explain the difference because we didn't talk about tarot decks today. What's the difference between the two?
Yeah, so tarot deck is just tarots have a very set structure. You have the major and minor arcana and the um and I think I don't get me wrong, I love tarot decks. I own like between Oracle and Tarot, I have like 60 decks. I'm an obsessed deck
Not
person.
only that, you're
But
making oracle decks, so that's awesome.
yeah, but Oracle decks I think just have more flexibility fluid in them. So I like that part.
Gotcha. How about elemental fairies or natural spirits?
Elemental fairies.
Okay. Channeled messages or written wisdom?
Mm. Channeled messages.
Okay. How about
I like
flower
I
fairies
like
or
I
tree
like
fairies?
I'm sorry, what?
Flower fairies or tree fairies?
Tree fairies.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
How
The
about
trees are my thing. If you notice, my logo is actually a fairy that is a tree. So
dream messages or intuitive insights?
intuitive insights. I think
Okay.
that's the best connection you can have.
Okay. How about single card or multi card readings?
Multi-card.
Okay.
I like the
How about fairy folklore or modern interpretations?
Ooh, I like modern interpretation.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what you do when you give your readings, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think that the folklore has great information, but like to put our own natural taste and bring it into the modern world, like that's what we need to like have more fairy magic in our modern world.
Okay. How about fairy magic or traditional rituals?
Fairy magic.
There you go. Mystical spirits, or how about mystical symbols? Mystical symbols or natural elements?
Hmm. Let's go with natural elements. I
Uh,
like that.
how about here's
Or
our last
not.
one. Moonlit nights or sun-kissed mornings?
Moonlit nights. I
Okay.
am a nocturnal being.
You have this has been like awesome talking to you again. I love every time that we talk. And you want to do let's do you want to do one reading for
Yes, yeah, maybe we just get a message for the who's ever watching this now.
okay,
This is
let's
our
do that.
message group. I'm gonna pull one. This is my little oh, of course I love this one. This is my it's a sad prototype deck that I made myself. So it's not the cards will look better than like when you
Uh-huh.
order them in person. But this is never underestimate the power and importance of bubble blowing. It has a and that's all about being in the moment, being in the joy. Like there's no quote unquote purpose for bubble blowing, but the purpose is to feed our souls and feed the magic and get into the joy and playfulness that we all need in our life.
I
So
love that
remember to
message.
play and blow some bubbles today. There's your message.
I am going to do that today. Absolutely. I want people to be able to get in touch with you for sure. And they can find you at thefairywoman.com.
Yep.
And then there's also your Instagram where people can find you at fairywoman42. And I'm going to leave. Which one would you prefer people get you on?
Probably go to the website. There's so much stuff there that you can just find for free. That's got great information, and the deck is in the store for pre-order if you're interested in getting that. And yeah, and then you can find my email and contact information very easily through there. It's easy. I answer emails very quickly.
Awesome. I'm going to leave that on the screen as we bounce out of here. I'm going to thank you again for showing up. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you in the future. Bye bye.